we have gathered here today to lay the foundation for the building of a society for all who wish to follow the path and method of Bahram, the way by which to climb the decrees of man and not remain as a beast. As our sages said about the verse, quote, "And you, my sheep, the sheep of my pasture are men," end quote. And Rashmi said, "You are called men, and idol worshippers are not called men." We have gathered here to establish a society for all who wish to follow the path and method of Bahram, the way by which to climb the degrees of man and not remain as a beast. As our sages said about the verse, "And you, my sheep, the sheep of my pasture are men," and Rashi said, "You are called men, and idol worshippers are not called men." Dear friends, dear world, the 10 and the Natan are 10. We've gathered together this week for a new special pilot, a mini gathering of friends before the lesson, before the morning lesson. We gathered together all week. Every day we got together, gathering sparks of connection between us with the purpose of bringing all these sparks to this lesson now together in order to give him contentment. And I'll pass the microphone to dear Vaden. Good morning, Banu. Good morning, world. I'm from the Nasher group, and I'm from the group as well as Mana Carter. Turns out this is my first time speaking, and even more correctly, the ability to speak. Many times I've tried to ask a question and didn't succeed to ask a question in a lesson. And today I'm here before you, and it's only thanks to the friends. It's only with the force of the friends we learn that society is the central vessel for a person's advancement. Alone a person remains within his personal desire, within thoughts and self-aimed calculations, and he cannot exit the boundaries of the ego. But as are in the society, if a society is aimed at the goal, then everyone gets forces from a society, gets support, gets examples. The topic of example is critical for me. If the friend can, so I can. And that is the answer to the ego that's always prodding you, saying that you cannot do it, you're not worthy of it, etc. Not if the friend can't, so I can. The friends remind me why I am alive, where I am headed, and what in general is the purpose of my life. Therefore our society is a true foundation for spiritual advancement, and I am giving great gratitude to the creator of the world, so that I've been rewarded of being even a small part of our great society. Second source excerpt. Therefore, when a person performs one of the commandments of the Creator, one should aim that this commandment will bring him pure thoughts that he will bestow upon the Creator by keeping the Creator's commandments. It is as our sages said, quote, says, the Creator wanted to cleanse Israel, hence he gave them plentiful Torah and commandments, end quote. And this is why we gather here to establish a society where each of us follows the spirit of bestowing upon the Creator. And to achieve bestow upon the Creator, we must begin with bestow upon man, which is called love of others. Again, therefore, when a person performs one of the commandments of the Creator, one should aim that this commandment will bring him pure thoughts that he will bestow upon the Creator by keeping the Creator's commandments. It is as our sages said, quote, says, the Creator wanted to cleanse Israel, hence he gave them plentiful Torah and commandments, end quote. And this is why we gather here, to establish a society where each of us follows the spirits of bestowing upon the Creator. And to achieve bestow upon the Creator, we must begin with bestow upon man, which is called love of others. Bash. The purpose of society, part 1. We gather here to establish a society where each of us will go with that spirit to bestow upon the Creator. That article I read for the first time, read about 17 years ago, when I was still in the campus, and then at the beginning of their path, all these terms of bestowing to the Creator, beast to man, they were all very strange, not well understood. But just as we know the writings of Rabash knows how to make contact with the heart, with a point in the heart of each and every one of us. And now we here gather in order to bestow contentment to the Creator. And now we will hear a clip of Rav from about 19 years ago, and there and it's really relevant for today's times. This article is for someone beginning on the path, and this article is truly as it is written, an article that founds the society for the founders of the society. In truth, It could be for people who have been studying for many years together, but only now have they come to the decision that they must connect together and establish a society in order to reach the goal. Therefore, he says the following: we have gathered here, and this could be after a few good years of studying together that they come to assemble. Why? Because only now do they understand that they need to reach the true building of the society. It may be that this is about us after several years that we've been studying, and it may be that we will yet come to sit in this assembly and establish the true society in a few years more. Let us see if we are ready for these things that Abash writes to us, which is called founding the society in order to reach the purpose of creation and love of others, can only be through revoking of oneself, that each person should feel lowly on one hand, and on the other hand, be proud that the Creator has given us the chance to be in a society where each of us has but a single goal for there to be among us. And although we have not yet achieved this goal, we have the desire to achieve it, and this too should be appreciated by us, for even though we are at the beginning of the way, we do hope to achieve the exalted goal. Again, and love of others can only be through revoking of oneself. Thus, on one hand, each person should feel lowly, and on the other hand, be proud that the Creator has given us the chance to be in a society where each of us has but a single goal for there to be among us. And although we have not yet achieved this goal, we have the desire to achieve it, and this too should be appreciated by us, for even though we are at the beginning of the way, we do hope to achieve the exalted goal. Yes, friends, we've gathered here in Var as well as all over the world. We've gathered to reach that goal, for that to dwell between us. The Bash guides us, gives us the means, the path for how to become a man and not remain as a beast. There are articles written by Arabalists that really give me chills, and the purpose of the society is exactly one such article. It really influenced me in the beginning of my path, the beginning of my studies. It marked for me a true goal, my true goal in life. And we've received such a great opportunity from the Creator to be part of this society, the society that brings closer the correction of all the society engaging in love of others. That's why we've gathered here, and that's why we will not stop until we reach our goal. We'll hold this feeling that we have created here together with Rabash, with our teachers. Hello friends, first of all, thank you very much to the friends from the Israeli warmed our hearts in the preparation for the lesson. In the first part, we will watch a recorded lesson from the 5th of February 2003 on the article A Concerning Prayer. The article is Concerning Prayer. We'll take 20 minutes to read that together in the 10. If you're done before time, then hold the workshop on the article Concerning Prayer. Said in quote, to love the Lord your God and to serve him, this is prayer. You say, this is prayer, or is it only work? We should say with all your hearts, which is work, in the heart it is prayer. End quote. We should understand why prayer is regarded as work. Is it work to pray to the Creator to grant our wishes and requests? And if our sages said so, then they want to imply to us that there is a special meaning to the prayer, that it is work and not simply a prayer. Thus, what is the issue to which our sages imply? Indeed, it cannot be said that a person prays and asks to be given something if he has no desire for it. Only when a person feels he lacks something does he go and ask for that feeling related to the lack from the one who can fulfill it. Since one asks only of one who is what he needs, and he also knows that he wants to give and to do good to others. Accordingly, when a person comes to pray and ask the Creator to satisfy his need, certainly his prayer should be clear. He should clearly know what he needs, meaning when he comes to ask of the Creator, he should picture to himself that he's now speaking to the king, and the king can make him the happiest man in the world all at once, because nothing is missing in the king's house. Thus, first one must carefully examine before the prayer, so he knows what he really needs, that if the king fulfills his lack, he will not need anything more and will be the most complete man in the world. According to what we learned, that the purpose of creation is to do good to his creations, it follows that on the part of the Creator, there are no hindrances on bestowing delight and pleasure upon the creatures. This means that the reason the Creator created in the creatures a lack called the desire to receive was in order to satisfy the deficiency. As we have explained, a lack is called torment and affliction if he cannot satisfy his need. Therefore, all the lack that was created was with the intention to feel pleasure through it, since the lack is included in the intention to do good. This follows the rule that the craving for something differs the pleasure from satisfying the craving. It is known that even when we give a person a meal fit for kings, if he has no desire for the meal, he cannot enjoy it. Therefore, when a person feels a lack and has no satisfaction for it, he comes to ask the Creator to grant his wishes. In general, a person asks only for delight and pleasure. And as we learned, on the part of the Creator, a person does not need to pray that the Creator will give him delight and pleasure, because his wish is to do good to his creations. Therefore, no one should be asked for anything if the giver wishes to give. It follows that before one goes to ask of the Creator to grant his wishes, he should first examine what he needs, that this is what he should ask of the Creator. It seems as though the Creator does not give to a person without a person asking first. This means that because asking is not included in the purpose of creation, which is to do good to his creations, but is something that emerged later from the creature. For this reason, the creature must ask the Creator to give him, that we should not ask that the Creator will want to give delight and pleasure, because this is his wish, as said above, that his wish is to give delight and pleasure to the lower ones. However, we should know that since there was the matter of the restriction called the correction of creation, and it is known that it is so that the Creator's gift will not be unpleasantness, called the bread of shame, and since we attribute this correction to the lower one called Malat of Insov, who is called the vessel that received the upper light, and once this receiver received the abundance, a craving for equivalence of form awakened. This is why she did the restriction. And as he says in the study of the tense, quote, the upper light does not stop illuminating to the creatures for even a minute, and the whole matter of the restriction and departure of light that are mentioned here relates only to the impression and perception of the vessel, meaning the middle point. This means that although the upper light does not stop illuminating, the vessel still does not receive any of its illumination, because it's diminished itself. End quote. And as said above, not receiving in order to receive does not relate to the purpose of creation. Rather, it is attributed to the correction of creation. It is an act of the lower one who strives for equivalence of form, and it follows that the lower ones cannot receive delight and pleasure, although the upper one wants to give, because they need vessels of bestow, and this pertains to the receiver and not to the giver. As we said, that the lower one called the malice of and made the restriction. This is why this vessel relates to the lower one, meaning that the lower one will want to receive only if it can aim in order to bestow. For this reason, when a person comes to pray to the Creator to give him what he needs, we should say that he actually needs something that does not come from the purpose of creation. Rather, what he needs is something that comes from the lower ones. That is Malat, who is called the lower one, because she receives abundance from the upper one, made a new kli to receive abundance, only in this kli called vessel of bestow. Therefore, all he should pray for is that the Creator will give him this kli, because this is all he needs. However, here there is room for scrutiny. If the lower one must make this kli because it pertains to the lower one, as we said above that Mal did it then, why does a person not make this kli by himself? They must ask the Creator to give him this kli. Moreover, we say about this kli that the lower one must make it. We tell him that this is all he needs to ask from the Creator. But if this pertains to man's work, then why does he need to ask the Creator? The matter is clarified more in the words of our sages who said, Rabbi Khan said, everything is in the hands of the Creator except for fear of the Creator. As it was said, and now, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you? But fear. Rashi interprets, everything is in the hands of the Creator as follows. Righteous and wicked do not come by heaven. He has given this to man and has placed before him 2 ways, and he must choose fear of heaven. The matter of fear is explained in the latter commentary on the Zohar. Indeed, both the first fear and the second fear are not for his own benefit, but only out of fear that he will lessen bringing contentment to his Maker. According to the above, it means that fear is that person must aim everything he does to be in order to bestow contentment upon the Creator. We asked if this is so, and bestow is something that man must do. Why did we say that he should ask this from the Creator, since it was said, everything is in the hands of the Creator except for fear of the Creator? We should know that man cannot go against the nature with which he was created, since the Creator created man with a nature of wanting to receive. As we said that it is impossible to enjoy the pleasures without a desire for the pleasure, and we learned that the essence of creation regarded as existence from absence is the will to receive. Hence, when one wants to do something in order to bestow, it is considered going against nature. This is why we cannot change our nature. Accordingly, if man cannot change nature, why did our sages say everything is in the hands of the Creator except for fear of the Creator? This implies that man does have the strength to change it. We can interpret that there are two things here. 1. A desire regarded as only a potential that he wants to bestow. 2. That he also has the ability to carry out his thought in actual fact. Therefore, we should interpret that the demand for man to choose to walk in ways of bestowal. He should know that this is the key to receive the purpose of creation, to receive the delight and pleasure, and if he hasn't these he will remain in darkness without light. Once he knows this in complete certainty and begins to intend to carry out acts of bestowal, he sees that he cannot go against nature. Here comes the time of prayer, and not before, since there is no such thing as asking for urgent help, asking for vessels of bestowal which are calm, in which he can receive life, and without which he is regarded as dead. As our sages said, the wicked in their lives are called dead. This is because by nature man asks for help only when he cannot obtain what he wants by himself, since prior to this there is the matter of shame, as our sages said about the verse chrome gorges for the sons of men. When man needs people, his face changes to be as chrome. What is chrome? There is a bird in the cities near the sea whose name is chrome. When the sun shines on it, it turns into several colours. It is known that the corporeal nature that we were given is such that through it we learn spiritual matters. Therefore, before one knows that he cannot obtain the vessels of bestowal by himself, he does not ask the Creator to give them to him. It follows that he does not have a real desire for the Creator to answer his prayer. For this reason, one must work to obtain the vessels of bestowal by himself, and after all the work that he has put into it without obtaining it begins the real prayer from the bottom of the heart. At that time, he can receive help from above. As our sages said, he who comes to purify is aided. But since this prayer is against nature, since man was created with a desire to receive which is self-love, how can he pray to the Creator to give him the force of bestowal, while all the organs oppose this desire? This is why this work is called prayer, meaning he must make great efforts to be able to pray to the Creator to give him the force of bestowal and now man's force of reception. This is why our sages said, and you shall work is prayer, the work in the heart. By this we will understand why they refer to prayer as work in the heart. It is because one must work a lot on himself to cancel self-love and assume the work of obtaining vessels of bestow. It follows that on the desire to have vessels of bestowal, he must work with himself to want to pray to be given the force of bestow. It's only after a person knows for certain that without the vessels of bestow he'll remain in darkness, then he begins to aim to perform acts of bestow, and even then he discovers that he cannot do it. The development of the will comes in stages, where failure is also advancement. In general, this article concerning prayer, where he explains what is prayer, it is written in 1986. It's a revolutionary article because Rabbi Shir breaks all the agreements on what was prayer, that he writes what is prayer, that it says it here that a person can work on himself in order to attain the vessels of bestow, and after much work that he has engaged in that, and having not attained it, so then the true prayer begins from the depths of the heart, and then he can receive help from above. That's completely opposite to how usually people think about prayer, that prayer needs to be in order to receive the vessels of bestow and not something else. Yes, he also wrote about fear. The fear that a person who advances gradually stops having fear regarding himself and his only fear is guarding bestow upon the Creator. That's true fear, and only the Creator only answers true prayer and advances a person. Truly prayer is an action, the final act of a person who understands that at the end of it all help can only come from above, because that change of man's nature to one of bestow he needs force from above for. But as friends said, it's not a usual prayer. It's a prayer precisely for the friends, because through that you already learn the quality of bestow when you request for the friends. It's written in the last paragraph, and you worked this prayer work in the heart, because a person really needs to work with himself to annul and accept the work of attaining the vessels of bestow. Now we'll go to the lesson on February 5, 2003, the matter of prayer. Concerning prayer, actually one of the first articles Abash wrote. Prayer is actually the conclusion of our work, because everything comes from above, other than the vessels. The upper light is in complete rest idle, as we say, and the abundance fills us from within and without, and it's only the vessels that we require. The vessels aren't called the will to receive, but rather screen and reflected light. That's the vessel. Why? Because the vessel of reception, to begin with, in the way in which they were created, are not meant at all to be filled by and to maintain, to keep the abundance. They're only there to show the created, being the degree of his disparities, oppositest to the Creator, and therefore Mahat, which was filled up in that way from above by default, and she felt in all her qualities perfection, and only that one aspect, one discernment that she lacked was adhesion. Nothing else was lacking. It was he and his name are one. There was clear knowledge that there's no difference between me and him, but there is disparity of form. There's a lack of equivalence of form, and this equivalence of form, that wasn't the condition for the created being to be far from the Creator, no, or for the created being to lack something of the Creator, no. We don't understand exactly what the shattering is that the created being felt, which is called malhood of infinity, over which he performed the restriction. He could not tolerate that feeling, called shame, with the entire process. After the first restriction is the correction of shame, and we will understand this only after crossing the barrier and seeing for the first time this discernment of what's between us and between the first corrected vessel. Therefore, after the first restriction comes the correction of in order to bestow. That is the correction of the shame, and the shame, it's not as we understand it also, because what exists in malhood, defense of anything belonging to her, everything came to her from the Creator, and so go to the craftsman who made me, which is to say all of the lacks, all of the advantages, everything she has, it's not lacks or advantages, it's all in the hands of the Creator. So there's only one discernment there for which malhood is ready to depart from that sublime state, that I state, and descend to the abyss, as she feels it, meaning down to the sensation of this world, the sensation of complete disconnection, so as to ultimately correct this state at she felt as shame in anger in infinity. And this state is we not being like him. It's a thing which it's impossible to explain. This sensation comes to the created being with the last prayer that he truly prays, before being awarded with the first vessel of holiness. And when he still prays for that vessel, he's still in lishma, not for her sake. But then later, when he receives lishma for her sake, he receives it from above. And then he begins to truly see what the difference was between Marlu, on the level, the degree of the embryo, the small degree he's in, when he reaches malhood of, returns to it after all of the corrections, then he certainly feels the cause for which there was such a descent, from such a high state, down to such a lowly, base state. So our state is not felt to us. We don't feel it as bad. We don't feel it as low. We don't feel our state opposite to the light in comparison with the light fulfilling us, or in comparison with the surrounding light, at least around us. And our state is such that we need to reach a lack without a lack, meaning that we don't know what we need to lack. What do we need to crave? What are we lacking? We run in various directions to search for a source of fulfillment, and we find it nowhere. And such is the path, until a person reaches some level of understanding regarding how he can come to the lack for the true thing, and a lack for the true thing. That is a lack to a lack for being, similar to the light, being similar to the light before that there should be a lack for the light itself, meaning not for the action of bestow in order to bestow, but rather what will I gain from that action, and at least to reach that state, we need to do that through exertion, as if we truly elevate the Creator, or His quality of bestow, or even not the quality of bestow, but rather that He is the only ruler, the great, the terrible, ruling over all actions, all thoughts, over everything that happens to me. Then a person is able to lower his head a little bit and to want to get to know and connect to such a great high and important root. And because the Creator is concealed, then the society needs to provide us with that knowledge. And so our work is all about reaching the deficiency, the lack in the person's heart, which is called prayer, which is to say that prayer is an outcome from the work done towards the right goal. All other lacks will not form in our hearts this tension towards that special thing called prayer, right? And in that prayer there are a few things. A prayer due to fear that I will lack something in this world. A prayer due to the fear that I will lack something in the next world. A prayer in order to receive, and later a prayer in order to bestow. Am I bestowing upon the Creator? Can I give to Him? Will I have an opportunity to do so? That is the next stage. But at least with the prayers, Lishma, not for her sake, where I think about what I lack in this world, what I lack, what will I get in the world to come. At least by that I tie myself, if I bind myself to the Creator. Yes, and this a person also lacks because he doesn't see, he doesn't feel that he depends upon the Creator. If this is done as something a person does through education, upbringing, because we received such an education, then a person does it without a lack, but because a habit became a second nature. And if we didn't receive such upbringing, or if we can detach, separate from that education, then we remain completely disconnected from the Creator without any feeling of dependency on the Creator. And here only the society can provide that, and the society does indeed in very many different forms provide this to the person. Either she brings, either it, the society brings it to him by way of religion, various religions, or a person can, with criticism, selectively scrutinize it and bring himself, provide himself with the importance of the Creator, and then he reaches such a knot for her sake, Lishma, from which one can also reach for her sake, meaning he uses the society, the group, the study, the love, the entire method, such that the importance of the Creator, although he aims for it to fill his vessels of reception, there will be some kind of inner awareness that ultimately he needs this for his vessels of bestow. From where will the person know that he'll really be in it ultimately, that from not for her sake he will come to for her sake, that from thinking about fulfilling himself, this thought will be conceived there a thought or a lack to fill the Creator, fulfill the Creator. If he works on the point in the heart according to the books which developed for him his point in the hearts in the proper way, mostly with the society, then in his work to fulfill himself, his work to fulfill the friends also enters into this bestowing upon them, buying them. In that during the study he looks for how to find the cure, the medicine, from the study where at least he has some kind of exertion in that, and then inside of his simple Lishma just to fulfill himself with the connection to the Creator. He's great and he'll do good for me. In it there's also this little bit of dirt, so to speak, of Lishma for the sake of the Creator, this grain for the Creator, and then gradually develops until it reaches this kind of lack that doesn't allow him to sleep, a great lack, which turns into prayer, which opens the entry to the spiritual world. Question: what is the Lishma that we need to reach in our state? The Lishma that we need to reach in our state, well, I won't tell you by percentage how much it is, but it's a desire, a demand for the Creator, a lack for the Creator, that by some percentage he will fulfill my vessels of reception, and a little bit by some percentage I also want to fulfill his desire, where it's clear to me that if I think only about him and how to fulfill him, I won't have any thoughts, no desire. I'll just escape. I'll just run away from the whole thing. But if it's a bit of this, a bit of that, then I can do that a bit for you, a bit for me, but not a little bit. 100% of my will is invested in this work. Let's say 99% for me and 1% for him. Great, that is all already called lishma, not for her sake, from which gradually one reaches lishma. More questions? Yes. Student. He said that this can be done in the beginning through a friend. Love. No, because the Creator is concealed, and I have no desire at all in that direction, just to be given something. Let's say I feel bad right in my life. God forbid something bad happened. Why don't I turn to him? Why did you do this to me? Or if you already did it to me, then fix it. Or I don't even remember that he did this to me. Because it is also a problem, understanding that he did this to me and also asking him to remove that thing, to cancel it. So why did he do it? He just wanted my request. So what is this? Is he toying with me? You know, holding me on a short leash like that. Is that suitable for him? There are many things to this. So let's say that a person doesn't know how to have this demand yet. What did you do to me? He simply turns to the Creator with a request. Only one part of his prayer to the Creator, and he shouts, help me. There's someone who did me wrong. You know, some neighbor, some judge, etc. And you will do good by me. That is also a prayer, or like the Kibbutz Nekim in the south in the negative. It's also a prayer without even any kind of clear plea. Gradually a person goes through many different discernments in his attitude towards the Creator until he really builds, assembles in his consciousness this image, not a God forbid an image, where he sees with his inner sight various things, but rather the image. By that I mean a qualitative kind of image, a sum total of qualities, which he terms Creator, right? And each time this combination, can you say that? Yes, these qualities, it changes in accordance with how a person delves deeper, understands, begins to have this kind of, he begins to live this image. But from where will he take the need to turn to him and urge motivation to sort these things out for himself? Here the group needs to push him, to tell him this is very important, there is such a thing, be careful this, or maybe the opposite way you can profit the right. It's only the society that can do that, and we see how on the plane of the corporeal world religions provided humanity with such insights. Right, it's worthwhile. This is the upper force, and you have many thousands of methods by which to turn to supreme forces, so to speak. By need to do this only through the society, because here we have special people who have a point in the heart, and from this point they want to turn to him. They want what they want. They have no choice. They came here because this point demands fulfillment. So there is a lack to feel him. Corresponding to this point, a lack to feel him, to know him, adhere to him. Whereas the other methods turn to a person who doesn't really want to get to know the Creator, doesn't have the beginning, the point in the heart. They don't have the beginning of the spiritual vessel, but they have various. Well, we see many people also come to us. There is something in them, but it's still not a clear point. It's still not a foundation for a spiritual vessel. It's not yet the TUR of seed from which something can develop. So opposite at point. For that point, there is no other method but for Kabbalah, and there's nothing to provide it with importance to come close to the Creator, but for the society, because the Creator is concealed. So instead of his revelation, we have to use the force of the society. I don't know what the point is. I don't know exactly what the method is. The point in the heart, that's the point of Biner, which in general I'm saying it in a very, just so you understand, right? It's a spark from the broken screen, the shattered screen, and now it has a connection to with the heart itself, with the desires of man, meaning for the first time other than one, except for one desire. A second desire is revealed to the person, where point of being the quality of the Creator, and corresponding to that a person already has a kind of inner restlessness, because they're not only existing to fulfill malhud, So they run after all the pleasures of this world, and on the level of this world do they find something, because corresponding to malhood there's fulfillments in this world on that same level. But once the points of Beaner has entered the picture and is revealed together with malhood, a person won't find fulfillment for it in this world. Fulfillment is from the spiritual degree. Then this person finds themselves in this, in a kind of split, and feels it, thinks that he'll fulfill himself on the same plane of this world, and runs around for it but can't. And then that point leads him, according to equivalence of form, to some place where that point is also being addressed. It's like in a magnetic or electric field, how everything moves toward its point of equivalence with this field, with a field like a charge. It's the same here. So the person finds that he somehow arrives seemingly by chance, but it's all forces at work, because we exist entirely within the spiritual space. Corporeal things here do not interfere with the spiritual forces. So the person arrives and starts hearing something, but even that hearing is a problem, because the intellect of the point in the heart is not the same intellect that a person normally uses. A person uses an intellect of the heart, and now he begins to learn something about the point in the heart. This leads to heaviness of the heart. The heart becomes heavier in opposition to that point. So it turns out that the will to receive grows. The heart grows at the expense of awareness, knowledge, and intellect that are developing. Bigger desires for corporeal pleasures develop, and the point in the heart stands in this opposition to them, and it cannot grow really on its own. It grows only through its resistance to the heart and the corporeal intellect, the beastly intellect. And here a person is brought to a state, through crisis, where he sees that his entire path is a dead end, because the point in the heart remains completely without fulfillment. It receives nothing from spirituality, and also in corporality it ultimately gets no fulfillment, because the deficiencies in corporality grow on account of the point in the heart. So it turns out that is empty on both sides. He cannot fulfill himself in the heart, and neither in the point in the heart. This brings him to a decision, to the necessity to turn to the group, the books, and to a true RV, not as he did beforehand, when it was in order to help him somewhat to manage his desires in his heart in the corporeal level, but to truly hear what the sages say, that through the group, one needs to increase the creator's importance in relation to the point in the heart, and that is what the group can provide, and only the group, and the study with the right intention. However, a person cannot reach that alone. They need to undergo many crises, and in any case here from the group, the books, and the avi that it exists, and gradually he hears, and then he starts demanding from the society to provide the greatness of the creator, and then he works with the society differently, not just as ordinary friends, and he doesn't just maintain a routine framework, but he begins not just like Atter as a factory, but he begins to demand from this factory a spiritual result, the greatness of the creator, not that he will see him or feel him, but that there will be some kind of image faults. And clear, it doesn't matter. I don't care whether I don't, if I don't understand, if I don't care, if I don't feel, that doesn't matter. What matters is provide this to me, give it to me, because otherwise I cannot. Then a person can begin to advance, to turn to the creator, to demand from him, to want him, to be filled by him, to relate to him in some way, not just a relationship of give me, but with some respect that he is great because I depend on him, and that he is good because he can give me good things, and so on. This is still Lishma, but it is directed in a very practical and simple way, and with it he reproaches the creator even with that bit of filth from Lishma. But that's only on condition that he truly begins to turn himself toward the creator, even if only for a few minutes, even in order to receive. It doesn't matter. Still, it comes from the point in the heart. It's not like people from the outside. There are those who can cry out to the creator all the time, but they do not have this, crisis or conflict between the point in the heart and the heart. So one who does have it, he still doesn't know it from himself, but he cries out from that point of Boehner that even when he starts crying, so that point will be able to starts becoming filled from spirituality, and his connection with the spiritual vessel, the beginning of the spiritual vessel of Boehner with the light with the creator, and then he is already on the spiritual path, where he starts becoming connected with the creator, and not on the corporeal path, meaning not he doesn't turn from the heart to some higher force and says, fill me, but he turns to it from the point in the heart. That's very important. That's the whole difference. One who turns from the heart is called a landlord, and one who turns from the point in the heart is called Torah. The view of landlords is opposite to the view of Torah. In the end, it leads to this inversion where a person begins to think also in terms of bestow. There are several processes in this, but yes, in the process we're going through, we learn that the desire is almighty. And now if the egoistic desire grows, and we're talking about these pleasures on the level of the heart, I expect the person to have more inertia, more desire, and a lot more, and I would expect that he would go even faster. And compared to that, if he sees the work is the opposite, the work would be heaviness, doesn't pass. If we were advancing in our will to receive pleasures from this world, we meaning I have a heart, and in the heart I want money, 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 and I go and I work and I achieve, and here and there, really what am I doing? So my desire continuously grows, my passion continuously grows, and I'm immersed in that, right? But when I go to work in order to fulfill myself from a source that is not in this world, it turns out that the attainment of that source is, how can you say, it's opposite to my will to receive, and I thus constantly get more disappointment and a greater sense of weakness in my own powers. But together with that, I receive the greatness of the source. The greatness of the source is according to the measure of effort I invested. The desires we go through in these things of this world, we go through all kinds of things against the point in heart, right? The process you described. Now, so I'm asking still things of this world we already, even for them you don't have an answer, do you understand? So I want more money, I advance, I want more honor than before, than against the point in the heart that's growing, but the passion for them doesn't go and grow on the contrary, it becomes harder to do simple actions that are not connected to the point in the heart. Where does that come from? What's the point here? Where is my question clear? Again, we're saying that the point in the heart needs to grow against something, against the heart. That means that my egoistic desires on the level of this world are also growing. Okay, I just don't know what you mean by against or in relation to. But okay, keep going. So the question is, I'm saying once I wanted, I don't know, 10 kilos of honor. Today I want 30 kilos of honor. Why? Because the spiritual desire grew, and against that other desires grew. So I'm expecting to have more energy to attain everything. So okay, I have a problem with working before the creator, but to attain honor in this world I'll have more energy for, but on the contrary I become weaker. You seem weaker because you're not getting anything from the goal, because the goal is opposite. If you wanted money and money was in front of you, so you'd get energy and an even greater desire. And this feeling, you'd smell it like a duck. You'd be thinking, oh, I'm about to get it. You know, you'd be more intoxicated by the go. It's like dogs that are trained to find drugs. They're given small amounts of drugs and then they become addicted. That's right, otherwise they wouldn't search. What can you do? They are even kill dogs by doing so, but that's how it is. But here the problem is that what you seek and what you are ultimately meant to receive is the opposite. So in relation to that opposite, you actually receive a greater vessel, but in the form of disappointment. Seemingly it's not what I was looking for at all, but it doesn't come to you as a clear thought that this is not what I was looking for. It comes as this feeling of disappointment, as if there's nothing there at all. Why isn't the process built in such a way that, let's say now I have a desire for a few things to fill, and in addition, a desire for spirituality. I filled all my desires. I saw that it's not that, and now I know that we're being screwed in such a way that, you know, it's a state that you're bald from here and from there. I didn't understand that point. I didn't understand the necessity for the system. Why to show me the baldness from here and there? Why not just give me okay? Money you got, that's all you wanted. You're made with nothing, honor you got. All you wanted you were made with. Nothing, let's move to desires. And now, thank God there's only one thing. That's usually how it's done from above. They give you something in this world, what you wanted, and together with it you feel that it's not at all what you truly wanted as fulfillment. And it was just, how can you put it, a bit of mistake, that it doesn't fulfill you at all. I reached such a good state materially, and at that very moment it was revealed to me that I had to throw it all away. I couldn't tolerate it, and we've had many such cases. Who had just finished building a villa. He came to us for his first lesson, and said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm installing flooring in my house. Each tile costs $200. Now, I remember that clearly. There was his first lesson with us. By the second lesson, he had already stopped the work on the tiles, and later on he moved to Benarac, and he still lives simply in a regular apartment. Specifically, you reach material fulfillment, and then you see what it really is. Usually that's how it was. People are shown that material fulfillment is not what they really need. It becomes clear." He writes in the article there down in the bottom there, since out of the nature of person he doesn't ask for help only when he himself is not capable of achieving what he wants. But before that there's a matter of shame, as our sages said, as there's some kind of comes loots for people and sins. This needs to be for the created beings. His face changes like our come. What is this come? It's there's one creature in the sea that is called come, and that the sun rises and shines about it. When it turns it and changes colour, what is this? We'll speak about it eventually. It's towards something very exalted. He tells us that shame is attained by very unique people. It's not shame. It's, why is he using a bird and the colour of the bird changing because of the sunrise sunset? You know, they're allegories. And the explanation he gives you. And what does you explain what shame really is? Meaning the story. We'll get to it. Let's share our impressions from the lesson and what from it we're taking to be implemented in the 10 many things. One thing I wrote down was that a person needs the forces, and society can supply them for a person in all kinds of ways. It depends what he wants to change into, what he wants to reach. So there are all kinds of possible answers, but mainly to scrutinize what the deficiency is, that to reach a creator can only be with society. Yes, this part he uses the society, the group, the rev, all the methods, so that the importance of the creator, although it should be aimed to fill his vessel of reception, there's a certain inner knowledge there. As he continues, he actually says that that's where there's a thought for a deficiency to fill the crater. There were a few descriptions about prayer that are and starts praying from Lishmer, and then Lishmer, and we were directed more or less towards the direct prayer. Not only give me, but from some kind of respect. That's what I heard in Lishmer, and still called it that there's something not pure in such a prayer. That a prayer on a spiritual path, he called it a crisis, a breaking between the heart and the point in the heart, and that demand is already a beginning of the vessel of Biner, and that helps you aim. Raf is a man of truth, and you hear his words and see how it clothes precisely on what you felt and what you've been through. When you hear such lessons, you simply understand that this is your place. This is what I felt from this lesson. He gave us many details, but in truth, a person with a point in the heart comes here, and we simply talk about what he's going through, as if Rob is living your life. And I'm saying, for sure this is happening to us all, and this is truly so special that a person finally, after searches of many years, this wondrous place that we finally are understood, and we know how to give a fulfillment to the place that we need to. We barely talked about prayer. We talked about the awakening of the point in the heart, which is simply a huge impression. As I try to search in the lesson for changes, we say that on the path of studying the wisdom there's light. You see how light changes a person every time. He thinks he wants something, so he engages in something, and then he sees it's not that. And the light corrects his heart, moves it to a different place. Then he tries, on his own, and it works on him. He understands that he can't. And it all builds a deficiency for a person, supernatural deficiency to try and change himself to become a vessel of bestow, not a vessel of reception. Rav actually gave a really nice description of the bestow of the light, about how he said about himself that he had everything on a corporeal level, but he somehow felt it as intolerable, and then about the other guy who came with his building his villa and every tile was $200, and unless after that he was already busy with something completely different and not in a house that he was building. Rav gave also a very nice explanation about the matter of shame. What shame is, that it's not a matter of you. Shame like we have altogether, but it only comes to show a person the measure of his disparity or opposeness from the Creator. He says Mullet wasn't lacking anything besides adhesion. Its only problem for which it did the restriction was the in disparity of form with the Creator, which is the shame. Explained, the only desire we have is the point in the heart. That's what works against the mind and the beastly feeling, and against the point in the heart you can actually develop it in the group. That the important, the greatness of the Creator, you can only get through the friends. And here, it's just to get lucky and be at the right place in the right time. And each one of us has a great privilege, and we have an environment. We have friends. We have a love. All of this every time, every second is, you can't miss out on any opportunity. Every second you get greatness. I love the preparation our friends did here. Yes, friends, we're going to hear a discussion on the path with Raf, called Without the Example I Have No Example for the Creator. This discussion took place April 25th, 2026. The Creator is more exalted than what a person can depict within his mind, and to say that we need to believe above reason that he conducts the world as the good who does good. And if a person believes that the Creator only wants for the good of man, that brings the person love of the Creator until he is rewarded with love, your God, with all your heart and all your soul. And that is what a person needs to get from the friends. So suddenly how he ends with, love the Creator with all your heart and all your soul and all your essence, and that a person needs to get from the friends until he will be rewarded with love your friend as yourself, and will be rewarded with love the Creator with all your heart and all your soul, and that you need to get from the friends. Who chose that? Me. Oh, you could. So you explain, why do you think that that is lacking? You're not missing anything I'm missing. Let's read it again. Oh, so the Creator gives us the intellect to do so, the mind. The Creator is higher than any greatness of the Creator that one can imagine. We should say that we believe above reason that he leads the world in a benevolent guidance. And if one believes that the Creator wants only man's best, it makes a person love the Creator until he is rewarded with, and you will love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. And this is what a person must receive from the friends. I recommend we do a workshop question. What do I need to receive from the friends? From you. What do I need to receive from you? From the friends? Even more. As much as the friends love me, that the feeling of the love of friends towards me, that'll be equal to my love towards you. Do I need the friends to love me, or do I need to love the friends? Yeah. What do I expect? Love of friends towards me. You expect the love of friends towards you to feel the love of friends towards you, because it will give you an ability to return towards them with the same feeling. Actually, this godly trick for me of raising the greatness of the Creator and the friends is understood. It's 100% clear to me that if before me there's an important person, anything I do towards him, I will enjoy. And this idea is amazing. The process is not so clear. To what extent can the Creator be great? Or let's put it this way. The Creator can be, yes, but to the extent in which a friend can be great, where everything I do towards him will bring me endless pleasure. Duty. How do we make a friend greater on that level? Like a Rav, like the Creator's, that way no matter what I'm willing now to sacrifice myself for him to give, my soul for him to cancel everything I have for this friend. Truly, how do you come to such a state? And what is he more important to me? What, there's nothing that he's more important than me, and I'm the most important. What does he have that I don't have? He has love of friends. Well, Is that a sufficient, big enough reason for me to sell myself? For him, I'd say otherwise. I'd sell myself to be like him, to relate to the friends like him. Where's this force come from? Where this force comes from? This force is from yourself. And who decided that there is in the friend more than what there is in me? You determined that. Blood, how to connect to what Rabish writes, that behind every friend stands the Creator and causes him to do what he wants. If we could truly feel that, will we ever be able to feel that that the Creator stands behind every friend and is truly performing everything he does through him? I think we can feel this, and this depends on what? On persistence, on the desire to see it. That's in the person. It's in a person that demands from the Creator to have such a tendency to see the Creator behind our friend, that the Creator will give him a desire, that he'll see the friends in such a way, that through them or behind them is the Creator, to see that the Creator is behind the friends. Yes, demand this desire from the Creator. Yes. Do this depends on a person. Each time it comes back to a person, to the attainer, to me, meaning each of us has some kind of inner strength to do this work and demand the Creator. Ask the Creator. It's like passed along to the person himself. Yes, yes. So it's like, it sounds like this. Work in the wisdom of Kabul is very individual. Of course, it's like me. I have to, on my shoulders, I have to attain all these things. I have to do everything in the 10 is a group of people I exploit for my own benefit in order to attain and reveal the Creator. Yes, it's written like that. The whole world is to serve me, is to for my use. That's what Rush writes also. Duty. So what's the 10 that attains the Creator? The 10 that reveals. It's like there's something that I'm dependent on. Then you're dependent on them as much as you and the contact with them can raise your attitude towards them. But I am simply using them, the friends, in order to attain Creator. Of course, I don't really care about whether I will love them or want them. Really or not, we can't discuss that now. But you need the friends in order to increase your relation towards them. And after I attain that, do I still need the friends, or is that period over with? Then I continue onwards. You didn't attain yet. So what do you? But it's something that accompanies you to the final correction. The friends, I don't know. In the end of correction, I'll answer towards my current state. Is there a stage where a person no longer needs friends? I can't say. Let's say, what do you need the friends for that you can't get along with alone, just to reach a state that I can say in my name that I want it, that I think that this is how it should be? Can you? Without us, can you advance? Without the 10, without you, I think a person can't. Why, and in what way do we help you? You help me by giving me an example that each one will feel his friend again. And what are we an example for? You. Each one gives an example how he relates to the friend one. How does that help you? And then I check myself. Am I also like that? And do we really, are we really, do you see an example in us and how we relate to one another? Is that really an example? It's an example for a state that from that I can see how I am. And without that, don't you have an example? Nope. If not you, yes, that I can get an example from each one of you. Then I don't have food to get an example from. Wait, you take this example so that later you can relate to the Creator with. Right, otherwise for what? No, 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 no. I take an example, let's say, from each one. By that, I organize myself to relate to that certain friend. How is that connected to the Creator? How's connected to the Creator? How does this relation, this attitude that you're taking from us, from the example, how does that relate to your relationship with the Creator? 'Cause I want in my relation to the Creator to make it an example. What examples do you receive from us? Let's say I'm before the friends, doesn't matter which friend, and from that I take an example how I need to relate to each one. No, but how is that connected to the Creator? It's connected to the Creator. That in this way I also try to relate to Him. So it turns out that without the example, that I see how my friends and how they relate to one another, I will not know how to relate to the Creator. Is that how it works? Of course. So what through external examples you see something with your eyes. What you see around you. Okay, yeah, okay. And all these examples are they causative examples of how you need to relate to the Creator. maybe nothing but yeah. So there are things I don't want to receive such an example from. Do we give an example? I'm sorry for being so critical about ourselves. You give me an example. And what? Outwardly, if someone would look at us from the side where we're a nice group of people, polite, care for one another, take care of things, what is the here? What kind of example can you take in order to develop spiritually? Here now he asked for toothpicks, he passed it along to him, so what can I receive for that? What example? What do I see here? What do you see? I see that everyone wants to be good to one another up to a certain limit, and this is an example that's sufficient for you to be able to work with towards the Creator. Yeah, so it turns out that the entire spiritual advancement of a person depends in the end on how he relates, how he deciphers it, how he receives these examples. Yeah, but is there something where a person's in the 10 and that's something that's not dependent on him, or is it all dependent? Is it all dependent on a person, or is it something that if they don't do that it will prevent me from advancing no matter how great I am there in my attitude towards them? The second half of the sentence, meaning, is there something there in the 10 that does not depend on the way I relate to things, where if the friends don't do I won't advance also? Is there such a thing? If you see in your friends an example for a nice relation to the society, so you need to say that this is what they give you. Let's say like with Rabbi Obenisma, where he saw in his students, where he saw in these small students of his, he saw great things. It was enough for him, that example. Yes, Rabbi Obenisma, he writes about in the Freedom article. Hello, so meaning I can sit in the tent where there almost no one comes to the lesson. No, I don't know. They don't pay. No one disseminates. No one does anything. But I see in them that they're just a little here inclined to the greatness of the Creator and are nevertheless in the system. I can take out of that. I can reach the final correction with such a group or not. Or is there something that if they don't do that, even if I can justify everything but I still won't advance because they're not doing specific things? Or does it all depend 100% on me and my perception? No, it all depends on you, meaning I'm still dependent on them. You're dependent on them. If I were to put you in the campus, and like campus book, first grade, people who just awakened, they didn't even awaken. They want to hear what? Can you receive something from those people? Yeah, what kind of example can you get from people that just came here for the first time? They came to learn how to relate to each other nicely. They came for themselves. They came for themselves. And from here, from this specific place, you can already get examples from them, and to start advancing from that. Yeah, no, that's clear. But I'm asking, and nevertheless, what does not depend on a person, even if you can justify and do inner work, and see in each friend only good things, still, you're dependent on those people that you with that if they don't reach correction. No, I'll ask it from the opposite side. If you were being given negative examples, can you still take out positive examples from us, or do you truly depend on our examples? Is it the perception of reality or is it in us truly? If we were to demonstrate other completely different examples, separation, hatred, disregard each other, would you still be able to take a good example of it? Does it depend on you, or does it depend on our behavior? Depends how you interpret it. Let's share our impressions from the discussion and what from it we're going to take to realize. And the temple, we are dependent on each other 100%. This example we heard, where we learn from one another how to relate to one another. It's not just like that. We're given this world divided into bodies. We walk around, we talk, each looks differently, thinks differently. It's so that you will receive something that is not you in your writing before your face all the time, and then you'll have what to work with. Otherwise, you remain with yourself. It's like if you were a person alone in this world, then how could you even check yourself compared to something? Who are you? What are you? How much are you? Because you're an attendant busy beyond that, you can constantly look and receive this resistance. I'm for, I'm against. I see. Oh, how wonderful. He's relating nicely. I don't relate that way. Maybe I need to relate this way. This constant work in us being divided into bodies. The conversation ended that it depends how you interpret it. If a person, and that he depends on himself, if he looks at the friends in a good way, of the right example, so you can start advancing. If a person comes to the friends disregarding them with a lack of connection, it doesn't matter what they do. They could be the most righteous in the world. Nothing would help. It all depends on how a person interprets it. Even with love your Lord your God, a person needs to receive from the friends. That's what's written in the article. And there's a certain something that echoes in how you relate to them. That's how you receive from them. Accordingly, you have the possibility to give back to them. In the end, you want to be like them after depicting them in your eyes in such a way that you see that it is all the Creator in every friend in every form. It's like I had this picture where Rob was talking about like two modes that a person was working in. There's a one that's closed and doesn't receive anything from outside, like something with himself, with his ego, with his nature, so it doesn't change at all. And there's another mode. It's like a switch where he moves to an open state where everything takes meaning, and there's he can get an impression from each thing and receive direction and how to hold on to this, to have the power to change, to envy somewhat. We need to hold on to that button and make sure it's open. Yeah, and that's something. For sure, he absorbs the examples from the friends. I've said that the friends help me by each one giving an example, how he relates to the friend, how he feels to the friend, and then I can check myself how I relate to that friend. That if not for the friends, who can I take an example from? It's very nice. I also was inspired by how love doesn't speak above what he attains. He says, I don't know, I can explain about my state, and a good example for us to see. As much as love is precise not to say something he can't attain, that what he does say he does attain. There was a certain place in a discussion, like a question, what is the do, what do they have that it's not that I don't have, so they have love of friends, and how they know how to express this, so it's kind of like an answer that I heard more than once here. They have love of friends, and continue, I would really like to be like them. That's what I heard. When Vlad was asking how to see the Creator behind every friend, it means that the Creator will give him a desire, that he'll see the friends in such a way. What else can I add? What can we take out to the 10 that we always need to learn from one another? What is the way we relate to the Creator? Because probably my attitude to the Creator is not correct. The attitude of the friends is correct. So from this, I need to constantly take the example from the good relations between us are. Let's go to the next part of the lesson. So, hello friends. So we heard from now that I would sell myself to be like him, to relate to the friends like him. That's the relation towards the friends. So we, in this last part today of the article, for the completion of the today, we're going to finish reading it, and we remember that in this article talks to us about that we need to reach the greatness of the Creator. We actually heard that in the morning lesson today too, and in the talk on the path concentrates on it. He says, how can we reach greatness of the Creator? By finding a teacher that will teach us how to get there. But how will we reach the greatness of the love? So for that we need to have a society that will give us greatness of the love and greatness of the Creator. So we will want to bestow to the Creator, otherwise we won't have the fuel for it. Our will to receive is only concerned about himself. To be concerned about something outside of itself, it needs the fuel to do it, to be in the quality of, we need a reason for that. That's why we need the friends. That together with the friends we can raise the greatness of the and the Creator, and in this way we will want to have a desire to be still like the has. Till here, this is what we learned in the article, and from here on we're going directly to the last part. We'll read it. In the tens, where are we going to read? We are in the writings of Balaam in a speech for the completion of the Tsar. We're in the end, starting with the words with the paragraph that says, yet, as we have said concerning obtaining his greatness. Again, in a speech for the completion of the Tsar and theme articles, you will find the paragraph that starts with the words, yet as we have said concerning obtaining his greatness. We'll read it from there to the end of the article. Whoever is opening the study material from the study material program, it's excerpt number 9, or if you click on the article, it will take you right there. 5 minutes. If you finish before time is up, you can summarize the main points, please. Yet, as we have said, concerning obtaining its greatness, an environment that does not properly appreciate him weakens the individual and prevents him from obtaining his greatness. This is certainly true concerning one's love as well. An environment that does not properly appreciate the love prevents the student from being able to properly obtain the greatness of his love. For this reason, our sages said, make for yourself a raft and buy yourself a friend. This means that one can make a new environment for oneself. This environment will help him obtain the greatness of his raft through love of friends who appreciate his raft. Through the friends discussing the greatness of the raft, each of them receives the sensation of his greatness. Thus bestow upon his raft becomes reception and sufficient motivation to an extent that will bring him to. It was said about this, the Torah is acquired by 48 virtues by serving of the sages and the meticulousness of the friends. This is so because besides serving the love, one needs the meticulousness of the friends as well, meaning the friends influence, so they will influence him to obtain the greatness of his love. This is so because obtaining their greatness depends entirely on the environment and a single person cannot do a thing about it whatsoever. Yet there are two conditions to obtaining the greatness. One, to always listen and accept the appreciation of the environment to the extent of their greatness. Two, the environment should be great. As it is written, in the multitude of people is the king's glory. To receive the first condition, each student must feel that he is the smallest among all the friends. In that state, he will be able to receive the appreciation of the greatness from everyone. Since the great cannot receive from a smaller one, much less be impressed by his words. Rather only the small is impressed by their appreciation of the great. For the second condition, each student must extol the virtues of each friend and cherish him as though he were the greatest of the generation. Then the environment will influence him as though it were a great environment, as it should be, since quality is more important than quantity. So let's talk about it a bit. So he ends the article with two conditions for attaining the greatness. We heard that greatness is a critical condition to even feel that you're advancing in spirituality. So to always get the appreciation from society too is that society will be great. So I take from it the always hearing. Sometimes the ears are clogged. You can't hear. And when you talk about appreciating society, so you have to be ready to get from society to prepare yourself to hear, to listen. If you don't value society, it'll be just plain words for you. If you don't hear. So you have to start seeing how to increase the friends to a state that you can hear from them. This part is kind of like the answer to Mushi that he asked in the discussion that we just had. What if the society isn't doing, can I not advance because of? And we see if the society does not appreciate his Rav, does not appreciate the method, does not give greatness, for this a person has no ability to advance. And he says this, as it actually weakens the individual and prevents him from achieving his greatness. Certainly this is what happens also with his, meaning the environment that does not appropriately appreciate the greatness of his weakens a person. That's what we need to receive from the environment. We need a special environment. It's like there's a patent here that creates something new. If the individual appreciates society, he gets important. So he can do that and get greatness, and if he won't get greatness, and then he won't appreciate the society. Okay friends, in a moment we're going to see Rav's lesson on this. We'll do a short summary for this part that we read, and we will be in prayer together that the forces of and Rav will operate in us and let us somewhat come close to what's written here. So he starts with, yet as we have said concerning obtaining his greatness, we learned last week that attaining the greatness of the Creator, we need to attain appropriately or properly. This word properly meets us here as well. But we need to attain the greatness of his love properly. What's properly? I don't know. We're looking is probably much more than what we have now. And when we reach this properly, with sensitivity, with power, with the right way, then our inner desire will get the fuel to bestow to the Great One, to the raft, to the Creator, and then we'll have the strength, the power to move forward, the motivation to move forward, to bestow just like the example, who wants to be sanctified by our important great man. So she gives him, and by that, receives, due to his greatness. So we need to search for this properly. And Hiram explains that we are completely dependent on one another, because even if I have the greatness of the Rav and the exaltedness of the Rav, if I am amongst people who don't have this, it'll be lowered for me as well. I'm dependent on the friends with this. For this reason our sages the Karbas came and said, make for yourself a Rav and buy yourself a friend. You need to build yourself an environment that will help you attain the greatness of the Rav and through it the greatness of the Creator. And here he emphasizes also that we need there to be very meticulous with the friends, to place yourself in a very precise way in relation to them, so they operate upon you maximally. There are two conditions here. 1, to hear always and accept the appreciation of the environment to the extent of their greatness. What is always? What is to always hear the friends, and how much they appreciate the RA? Does it depend on them? Does it depend on me? And the second condition, that the environment should be great. Then he explains that every friend to attain these two conditions must emphasize him being the smallest of the friends. In my 10 there's a friend that always says, just like Rush says, and that is the truth, that you are the smallest of them all. So a person needs to constantly be more meticulous in being that he's the smallest of the friends to be able to appreciate the greatness from them. Otherwise, if I'm all over myself, that's fine like people, but spiritually nothing will come out of me. The second condition is I must raise the greatness of every friend and to express towards him like he's the greatest of the generation. The more I appreciate him, so will be the society. Now we're going to move to clip number 2, Rob's explanation, and then we'll continue scrutinizing these 2 questions. Whoever asks a question is invited to write down for himself. Then we'll have time. Clip number 2, please. It's written that the environment can be in 2 states. Either they don't appreciate the love appropriately, and then it prevents a student from attaining the greatness of love, or they do give greatness to the love, and then each one gets his greatness. What is this relationship between the environment to each one of the students inside it, concerning valuing, appreciating the adhering to him? We need to build these conditions that we learn in there's no kind of wise things here. There's it's pleasant, not pleasant, nice, not nice, to kind of behave or not. We're talking about building the vessel, and if we don't keep these conditions, then we don't succeed. That's it. The Kli must be unified, all in our voodoo. The Kli must be connected to the upper one, meaning to the Creator, to the Rav, and if that takes place, then the abundance moves through. What does it mean? And it has to be unified in. And what does that have to do with adhering to the our vessel of the students has to be united, and in what does that have to do with adhesion with the love? So how could you otherwise build a quality that to the Creator that is a quality that is can be equal to the upper one if you don't nullify yourself to in your degree towards the lower ones and you become as one? So there's Arv is the quality of the lower vessel that can adhere to the upper one. That's why there's a condition. Why is there this condition? To receive. How do you know that you're coming to the correct state under the condition that you anneal yourself before the friends and connect to them in order to bestow to everyone, so that everyone will be able to come to the center of the group where we are all nullified and we are all connected mutually to one another. Then the center of the group becomes a point, included of 10, we should say, but in this point there are 10 points that have annulled themselves, and then above their ego they're adding the point in the heart to the connection between them to the sum, and then the sum becomes a true 1 point included of 10, and then it's capable of being adhered to the upper one. That's why Arvut is the condition to connect to the upper. If you don't attain, then you cannot receive the Torah. The Torah is considered what you receive from the upper one. I want to understand, he writes here, that the environment can appreciate the love correctly or not, and then it forces every individual to get their opinion. For instance, when my friends here have the greatness of the love very much and I don't, if you're incorporated with them, you have a chance if you nullify before them, and you're willing to hear and integrate with them so that they can wash your brain and influence you, meaning you're cancelling your opinion, and then they can enter your reason into your opinion and bring to you their opinion, and then you incorporate it with them. That's the influence of the environment on a person. We're talking about the fact that this bestow can be necessary, just like we are in some big environment and the nation is controlling us, the media, etc. But in the group towards spirituality, you cannot be under their influence if you do not nullify towards them, because that is your free choice. What does it mean that the Creator brings you to the group and says take, where you annul yourself and accept their reason, their opinion, and what is their opinion towards connection, towards the connection between them, and towards the connection with the upper one is interpreting for you. What does it mean, connection between you? He brings you to a state in which you can adhere to the upper one, period, without you connecting equally all of you mutually. In necessity, in our view, have no connection with the upper one. That's it. You don't know what the upper one is. You don't know what connection with him is. You're choosing the rough. What do you understand in that? Can you understand connecting to the higher degree only under the condition that you connect with those who are equal to you on the lower degree? Then you begin to understand what the essence of the connection is. From the essence of the connection with the lower one, he begins to discover the point of connection with the upper one. Just like he writes for us there in the introduction to the Book of Sorrow, where, out of scrutinizing and correcting the lower degree, eventually in the end of the correction some tale of the upper degree is disclosed, is revealed. Says, how do you know you reach your right state? Under the condition that you annul yourself towards the friends connected then to them in order to bestow to everyone also. In the end, he said, you don't know what connection with him is. You choose love. What do you know? You can understand how to connect to the higher degree under the condition that you connect with equals to you on a lower degree. Then you start understanding what the essence of connection is. So we want to reach that degree. For that, we're going to go to questions and answers now. So if you have any, this is the time to put up your question marks also in the system, also here in the hall, to scrutinize this topic that we were talking about now, that we heard in the clip, annulment towards the friends, or everything we just heard about, please. Thank you very much, friends. Question from the text. Accordingly, our sages said, make yourself a Rav and buy yourself a friend, meaning a person can make a new environment, and this environment will help him attain the greatness of his Aravi, meaning through love of friends who appreciate his Rav. The question, what does it mean? How does it mean through love of friends that appreciate his Rav? By love of friends who appreciate the love, you can attain the greatness of the love. And he also continues, explaining how it happens. We're asking how it happens, right? That by the friends discussing his greatness, each one gets the feeling of the greatness. So you need to be among friends. That's what they talk about the greatness of their love. But it could be a state that they'll be speaking about the greatness of the love, and you won't absorb that greatness. In order to do that, you need to be in a position towards them that you love them, that you want to absorb it from them, that they are great in your eyes, in that they have more greatness of the love than what you feel in your heart, and you want it to spill from them to you. So the condition is to open your heart and get such bestow from them is to love them, otherwise you are closed. Thank you. Dear teachers, it's written in the article that, except for using the sages, there's meticulousness between the friends that they will bestow upon him to attain the greatness of the from this. It seems that in order to get greatness of the love, you need to bestow something to the friends. So the question is, what can we bestow to the friends in order to get greatness back from them? What do we need to bestow to them first? We need to bestow to them precisely what we want them to bestow to us, the greatness of one's love. If we perform this action in our heart, and in our speech and in our actions, then even if at first it will be like a show, and you're just not something you really feel towards the friends will operate on us as well in the same way, and then they will make the greatness of the Rav back in return to us as well. Our society is not a regular society where we just come and talk about anything, everything, and do all kinds of just like that actions. No, we have a goal. We just need to constantly remind one another that this goal, if we talk about the greatness of the Creator, excellent. I wish we could always talk about the greatness of the Creator, but tells us here it won't be enough motivation, enough fuel for us. We have the RA who is with us in the world. He's with us as an example. He's with us as a man that also developed and reached the highest degree. Once he was like us, and now he's in the highest degree that's possible if we don't take him as an example and don't make him his greatness more exalted towards one another, then each will remain with some kind of imagination of the Creator and will remain there. Hence the purpose of their society is to reach a point where everyone in his heart will be connected to the Creator. But this is impossible without the Raf and without the friends who help us constantly make him greater. And this needs to be this mutual work. Thank you for the question. There's a question here first, please. I wanted to continue Israel's question. Let's say I love the friend. Yes, really, he's great in my eyes. And suddenly, let's say he says something that evokes in me an explosion of resistance, and I can't, meaning I hold back. I do everything to not harm the relations between us. I don't say anything outwards, but in me it's symbolizing a question of why. Why does this happen in me? What do I do with this? Why? What happens in you? I simply feel like the friend said something that I can't accept. I am not willing to accept. I want to silence him. I want to tell him you're wrong, and I want to say everything, but either relations are very important. I hold back, and it built in me some resistance against the friend. Yes, before what he said, I saw him as great. He's my friend. I receive, accept what I'm taught. But suddenly, there's some wall about something he said altogether. He said something that he thinks that way, and he's right that he thinks that way. He has the way he sees that I don't have, and this wall. How do I solve this problem? You said the friend has an observation I don't have, meaning there's a difference between us, right? Yesterday or 2 days ago we had lessons about that. So in hour 10 we were talking, we had a daily task to think and pray that the Creator will light our way, that how we from this reality that is built from the nature of creation were different. If we were all the same, we were one, but we're different. So there must be a difference between us. And then we got to 110 also. The friends that are different, but there's also a point, an inner point inside everyone, you and me, and the friend that is also very similar. That's what makes us friends. And what, if I think about that, what makes us friends? So I see that in that friend there's a treasure that I really need. It's written here, I need the meticulousness of the friends. It's not enough that I adhere to have the meticulousness of the friends. And he explains 2 conditions for that. It means how you're meticulous about your attitude towards them. So you have to raise every friend before your eyes as if he was the greatest of the generation. Now, if he behaves different than you, he has a different opinion. It's something that breaks you, that blocks you. But behind all that, all those opinions, all that difference, all that behavior, all the words you just tossed out that block you inside, he still has a point of passion for godliness that you need, that it can bring life to you. So you rise above that block that is created in you in order to connect to it. And that's the work and the meticulousness of the friends. Every friend must raise the greatness of every friend, even the ones that are different. Because the difference is in more external things inside, in the inner point. There's a passion that I really want to acquire. Think about that. Another small question. What is the prayer? What am I asking from the Creator? What are the words that I can turn to the Creator with that will help me do that? And if you won't know the words, I need to ask Him to give me the words. So ask women's being one. How can I discover the loneliness, my loneliness towards a friend, if I don't feel it? He says here about Islam, talks about the meticulousness of love of friends, and he details, look what he writes in the end. He, in the last paragraph of the article, is so important. He writes, he says that there are 2 conditions. First, to always listen and accept the appreciation of the environment, and 2, the environment should be great in the multitude of the People is the king's lawyer. Then he explained to receive the first condition. Each student must feel that he is the smallest amongst all the friends, and to accept the second condition, each student must extol the virtues of each friend. There are two types of work. One, to see yourself as the smallest, because Rav once gave the example. It's like the law of equivalence of vessels. Even if I want to get something, even in the greatness of the Creator, I need to be below to see that they have the greatness of the Creator more than me. Therefore, only if I see myself below them, I will be able to receive this from them. There may be 10 friends around me with great burning love of the friends, but with my ego I don't see that, because I think that I'm above them. And the second thing, each student must extol the virtues of each friend. We heard today in the discussion on the path with Raf, he gave many examples of this. He said each gives an example of how he relates to the friends. These are two types of work, and if we don't do them, nothing will happen. There might be next to me Moses, and I relate to them, and don't even see them. Okay. So thank you for the question. I think it would be best if we move to clip number 1 and hear from Raf the continuation to the explanation about the article. The question is how can everyone commit towards society if he enters it to constantly show them in all kinds of ways he influences them in greatness of the goal, greatness of the path, greatness of the Creator. Without what need are you doing this way? If you don't do it, you're not a friend in society. You're even causing damage. I'm telling you, each and everyone, what are we doing? That's why we can't attain the force of bestow. Each one works as if in concealment. Why should I do what? That's a problem. And when one sees how his environment are being light with the work of the Creator and do not appreciate his exaltedness properly, one cannot overcome the environment, even if they have an inner feeling, but on the outside you can't see it. So he's not inspired by them. Yeah, and he also cannot attain their exaltedness, but rather he is slight in his work towards them. And since he does not have the foundation of attaining his exaltedness, it is clear that he won't be able to work in bestowing contentment to his Maker nor to his own benefit, because he has no motivations to exert. And if you have not laboured and found, don't believe, but he has no idea other advice, but rather either work for him, not work for himself, or not work at all, because to bring contentment to his Maker will not serve him like true reception. So what do? It all depends on you. You finally understand that, or not. Each one saves his honour. So that's what each one will get, and that it'll all end. Why his honour is the metaphor. Each one is watching over himself. That's why he's not awakening to bestow to the friends anything possible in order to motivate them towards the greatness of the goal, the greatness of the Creator. He must show it to them in every possible way, with his body, with his movements, with his words, and everything. He who gives a gift to the friend, he must announce it. He must, by keeping it in humbleness. It's not good. It's not good. Let's say, I once saw that I think Skablonsky brought food. Why doesn't everybody know he's doing it? I saw it by chance. All kinds of things about small little things that the friends do, but they don't respect it in society. Without that you can't grow. You still don't understand, and what your advancement depends on, I can't pass it on to you. Yourselves are losing revelation of their Creator. So one layer is the matter of a person keeping his honour. So he prefers, I don't care about honour or not. You're not advertising greatness of the Creator, greatness of the group, greatness of the Creator. You're not advertising it between you. So you have no fuel. It's not burning, Joseph. So a person gets the despair and leaves. I'm trying to understand what's the reasons that we're doing this, because you have pride. I understand where we're prideful, but why are we? What does it have to do with us not advertising the greatness of the method? Because if you would subdue yourself to society, you would act before them, giving them greatness of the Creator, even if you wouldn't really feel it. You are not concerning to take care of them as if they were your children, and me feeling like some kind of feeling. It's not an impression. And I'm not willing to play towards this feeling towards them. That's because of pride. Let's say it's not pride. Why do I care? I care that it's not happening, it's not burning, it's not filling the air. I'm trying to understand what's the reason to. I want to talk, I don't want to talk. About the reasons, there are 1,000 how. Do I know? So what do you have from that you know that it's pride that you were stuck from the how do we free ourselves from that despite that feeling that I don't have an impression I never act as. If I do have an impression there's this barrier here, how do we overcome it? If you take responsibility to take care of the friends in the group above your ego, when you have a baby crying and you want to sleep, you still get up and take care of him or not? Yes, of course I do. Why, of course, and you're not. And that's exactly it. There's some kind of confusion. Sometimes it happens when we say, but I need to also demonstrate to the society that I need their help. I need to demonstrate that I have a deficiency. Correct. Also, so how can I demonstrate that I'm missing something? To tell them that I have to get greatness of the goal from you. Everything you can give me, you must give it to me. Where is it? In such a state I'm not giving them greatness and exaltedness. Okay, and that's it. You give them a different greatness and a deficiency that you want them to help you. That means that you are awakening the dawn. You are awake searching for what you lost. You're showing it to them that you don't agree to stay without a deficiency. Is there a certain dosing of how I have to see this according to the feeling as much as possible to show as much as possible deficiency and also show exaltedness, both? Why isn't it clear? No, I want to understand I'm stuck to the deficiency. I some always come and it's like me that shows the deficiency, or me is the one that shows things this. Or is it not like that person needs to be balanced and show the society about both this and that? Of course. You have all of the Torah on your hands, and you don't know how to use it, and you don't want to use it. Yes, more than what Rob said to us is impossible. It's just very precise. The whole Torah is in our hands. We need to want and know how to use it, and we're towards the end of the article. And if we are reminded what was in the beginning of the article, we can remember because we're going to open in the first 2 paragraphs really. Or in the study material you can find it. We'll simply hear. We'll read in short what asked us and try to understand how he answered throughout this article about it. He says this. He opened the article this way. It is known that the desired purpose from the work in Torah and commandments is to adhere to the Creator, as it is written, and to adhere to him. We should understand what or adhesion with the Creator means, since the thought has no perception of him whatsoever. Indeed, our sages have discussed this question before me, asking about the verse and to adhere to him. And how can one adhere to him? After all, he was a consuming fire. And they replied, adhere unto his qualities. As he is merciful, so you are merciful. As he is compassionate, so you are compassionate. This is perplexing. How did our sages drift from the literal text? After all, it is explicitly written, and to adhere to him. Had the meaning been to adhere to his qualities, it would have been to be written adhere to his ways. So why does it say, and to adhere to him? This is how begins the article. We went through 9 lessons here, and we're towards the end, and we have a question for workshop. Through what we studied today, and what we remember from the article for the very first part, and thus far from the N lessons, we learned what's the answer to the question that asked in the beginning of the article. What is the answer to this question that asked about the matter to adhere to him? Yes, at the beginning of the article, what is the answer as we understand it now? Let's give is 5 minutes. I was really inspired by the end of the article that might answer this question more indirectly, but that he talks about these exalted things in the end. He speaks about the friends that have to be small compared to them, otherwise they won't be able to receive from them. So the article was destined for the ending, the completion of the but in the end it's all about the environment, the people around me, that without them I won't have importance of the and not importance of the book, and I won't be able to receive anything that's prepared, and I can check myself only in relation to myself, to the society, and specifically because the ending is just answering the question. So the conditions to attain the Greatness to adhere to them is something that is lacking a form. But the more the article keeps going, you see that without the greatness of the friends and the greatness of the and society, all the values we get here together as a vessel. So there really, you can't speak about adhering to him specifically, him, his qualities, cause in the end we're here, working with each other to attain qualities of bestow and adhering to him. That is complete bestow. So again, equivalence of form, that's a direction, and we have to attain that greatness. That's how we attain bestow. Said care for the friends like you care for your children, that to adhere to him. If we come to a state where I take friends who are kind of strangers, foreign to me, and I care for them like I care for my children, then I adhere to his qualities. Yeah, he gives the answer already in what we read, those two first paragraphs. He gives the question and the answer, and the whole article afterwards is in order to explain why. That is the answer. Why? To adhere to his qualities. What that means to adhere to him, and how to attain it. That is through the friends. And here that's our whole work, like saying in the clip, the relation to the friends, the giving of the friends to get inspiration from the friends. That one, like the example with Skabinski bringing the food to talk about it so the friends can get inspired by it. Those are the same means that we have and we don't use. Yes, we need to constantly be around the advertising, as we should say, of the greatness. We have to search for this all the time. A friend also asked how he loves the friend, and suddenly the friend threw out some sentence, and inside this will awakened in him that so these are the exercises of the Creator. That's how you seek the adhesion to him, because you want to check and grow them, and grow them specifically with love. This is the place and truth. It's an adventure. It's like it's a special experience where you fall and rise and fall and rise. This is how the Creator grows our vessel for each of us, and it also goes with the wholeness and the first part that talks on the path. And he says that every friend must raise the greatness of every friend as if he was the greatness of the generation. That's the advice we always have to use. That's one of the main tools we have. It's always in our hands to do. We just have to want to use it by having a point. Having a point in the heart is not something that's just a given. It's, for us, it's the beginning. It's like the crack through which we can start working through, only through that point, and our work with the society to awaken. It's said in the clip we just saw. Let's read it and pray that it happens in us, in each and every 10, to awaken to bestow to the friends everything possible, to awaken to bestow to the friends anything that is possible in order to motivate them towards the greatness of the goal, the greatness of the Creator. You must show it to them in any possible way, with your body, your movements, your words, any events, anything. He also said that you have to pay attention to all the little things that the friends are doing, to respect it, to take care of the friends like your children.